Hello, and welcome to Unstuck with Charlie. My name is Charlie Arms. The purpose of this channel is to help you take those small steps forward when you feel stuck, confused, or in need of direction. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that impacts us all, and that's disappointment. Have you ever been disappointed? I mean, really disappointed? We all get disappointed in life about something, right? It's reasonable to feel disappointed. Now, some things in life are incredibly disappointing. I mean, you might be a college student and after you graduated from college, you couldn't find a job, right? Or maybe you couldn't find a job in your preferred career field, right? This is very disappointing. Maybe a relationship with someone you care about went sour, and that is disappointing. Perhaps your financial picture isn't what you had hoped it would be in this stage of your life. Maybe you're in the second half of your life and you thought things would have turned out differently by now. There are many things and many people in this world who can be disappointing. So you're not going crazy, you're not flawed. It's okay to be disappointed. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to recognize your disappointment. However, it is not okay for your disappointment to control your life. Gotta stop that. Gotta nip it in the bud, right? We're going to discuss the poor responses in this video to disappointment that make our life worse. Now, in a separate video, I'm going to title How to Move Past Your Disappointment. I'm going to outline a biblical strategy using the Apostle Paul on how to move forward past disappointment. He was disappointed in many ways, and he found ways to move past it. We're going to learn from Paul. Before we dive in today, do me a favor, do all the YouTube stuff, please, right? Hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel. It would help me out tremendously, and I would greatly appreciate it. Now, to set this up, I want to briefly describe some poor personal responses we have to disappointment. These are the approaches, the behaviors we need to avoid. You might find yourself doing these things, and you'll need to switch gears fast because these approaches aren't going to help. In fact, they're only going to make things worse for you. The first poor response I might be tempted to engage in when I'm disappointed is throwing a pity party. We move into a place that I like to refer to as Pity City. And I'm going to tell you that God doesn't like it there very much, and neither will you. This approach won't move us forward. In fact, it will prolong our suffering. Now, this is probably the most gut-level response to disappointment. Pity City is where we sulk and pout and withdraw and often engage in bad personal habits. We even say things like, I'm going to console myself with some chocolate or ice cream or a glass of wine or whatever vice we tend to engage in. We might be tempted to go on shopping sprees that we can't afford because we were disappointed by something. Some people react to disappointment in relationships by jumping into bed with the next person who comes along. There are many ways that throwing a pity party can worsen or prolong our disappointment. It's obvious that Pity City is a dangerous place to go, and God doesn't like it in Pity City, and you shouldn't either. By all means, you should express your disappointment to friends and family, but you need to avoid the pitfalls of Pity City. You need to stay away from it. You need to find a different approach, right? The second poor response, the first one was Pity City. The second poor response we engage in is blame. We start pointing the finger at someone. Now, this response is as old as the Garden of Eden when Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the serpent. We have a habit of blaming the economy or politicians or the church, family members, friends, or the government. These are poor responses, and what this does is alienate the people around us. This will create a worsened situation for us because you see, on top of the original problem, now we've made ourselves look bad for not taking personal responsibility for our disappointment, for not being able to deal with our disappointment. On top of our original problem, we've hurt and offended and alienated people in our lives that are meant to offer us counsel and compassion and help us feel better, right? This kind of behavior, blaming, will isolate us. It will ruin relationships. This is the kind of approach that makes us hard to be around. You'll find people don't want to be in the line of fire. They don't want to get the finger pointed at them. Now, there's an old adage that says, watch out for the person who blames others around you, because when you're not around, they might just blame you. Another way this is stated is, if they're talking bad about other people to you, they might be talking bad about you to other people. You see, disappointment is going to happen. And we have to be careful that we don't worsen our situation by going into pity city or playing the blame game. We have to learn ways to deal with our disappointment that is healthier. Now, the third and final poor response I'd like to cover is the problem of making a mountain out of a molehill. Let me explain that. This is where we take a disappointment and we blow it up. We exaggerate it. We make it bigger than it is, a bigger deal than it is. Now, sometimes there are legitimate disappointments that are just big. Divorce, death, serious health issues, among others, are disappointments that are real and genuine, and that's not what we're talking about here. These are some disappointments that are just not that big, and we turn into bigger things than they are. We wind up making a mountain out of a molehill. Sometimes our disappointment is God's way of getting us out of a bad situation. Maybe a bad financial decision and so on. Maybe you shouldn't get approved for that car. Sometimes when things don't turn out the way we want, perhaps it is God's way of protecting us from ourselves. And many times the issue isn't as bad as we make it out to be. We have a way of blowing things up and making situations and issues bigger than they need to be. We need to keep some perspective in life. It's easy when we're disappointed for our whole life to revolve around the disappointment. But perhaps God is closing a door for a reason. Perhaps God is redirecting you for a reason. So there you have it. 3 poor responses to disappointment: throwing a pity party, blame, making a mountain out of a molehill. Now, in my next video, I'm going to teach you a biblical story about a man named Paul and how his disappointment turned into God's appointment. How his disappointment turned into God's appointment. We'll explore a healthy approach to moving past our disappointment. Now, if you like this video, hit that like button and click the subscribe button on your way out. As always, let me know what you think in the comments section. Have a blessed day, and let's move forward.